Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Monday, March 31st, 2025. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Dave Weigel, politics reporter for Semaphore, will be joining us on the important elections and the massive amount of money that Elon Musk has dumped into him this week. Also on the program, it's tariffs week again, as farmers and purchasers of goods start to panic. And here's something, you haven't heard this term in years: stagflation. Financial forecasters are seeing it on the horizon. Meanwhile, Mike Waltz may be the odd man out as Signalgate still reverberates in D.C. En France, Marine Le Pen, à droite, très à droite. I tried to.
Yes.
Yeah,
Love the romance language.
La poupée qui fait non.
Yeah.
Gerald Depardieu over here.
Marine Le Pen gets 2 years in prison, 2 years suspended sentence, and banned from presidential elections for embezzlement. And after quietly reversing on closing 47 Social Security Administration offices, Doge is now primed to crash the entire Social Security operating system. Secretary of Quackery, RFK Jr., expected to lay off all the workers in the Infectious Disease and HIV/AIDS Policy Department. As Tesla protests continue in U.S., Tesla dealership in Rome, Italy, loses about 8 Teslas to fires set in the Teslas.
So sad.
Democrats in Rome. Iran rejects direct talks with the U.S., reacting to Trump's letter. Emboldened by Chuck Schumer's cave, Senate Republicans now are racing toward a budget resolution for reconciliation. Possible vote this week. All this and more on today's Majority Report. It is Monday.
It is Fun Day Monday.
Fun Day Monday.
Although maybe fun deferred, because I think we have to wait until we hear what the outcome of the special elections is going to be, whether or not we're having fun with them.
That's right. I guess that's fair, says Emma Vigeland.
Yes, that's me. Hi.
Thanks for joining us, folks. Beginning of the week, I'm already starting to get angry IMs from the farmers in the IM section. Kowalski from Nebraska says, farmers starting to panic, Stan. I've been stuck piling resources for the last month and a half to wait out the coming storm.
It's insane.
Also, we're talking about elections that, and we'll be talking to Dave Weigel in a bit about this. There's really basically 3 things that we can do right now as a society to deal with the growing authoritarianism and fascism we're seeing in this administration. Donald Trump out there saying that he wants to run for a 3rd term. He's not joking. Right now, you can't see a path to that happening legally, but it's unclear where we'll be in 4 years and how robust at a time when Republicans are saying due process is a nicety that we no longer need. And I'm specifically talking about YouGov came out with a poll this week. Maybe we'll talk more about this later. But YouGov came out with a poll this week about deporting undocumented immigrants who have committed a crime. I don't know what the numbers were, 75%. Then they asked the question, however, if doing these deportations require the deportation accidentally of people who are in this country legally, are you still for it? And then all of a sudden, only 29% of people are for it. There is one cohort that is okay with essentially no due process, with scooping up people who are perfectly legal in this country and deporting them. And that is conservatives and Republicans. Actually, they both came in at 52%. We're okay with that. So as a society, we're facing a growing fascist movement and an administration that is, pretty fashy, as it were. There are really basically three things, and we've talked about them a lot, that can slow this roll. One is just broadly organizing. That encompasses, I think, labor unions, but also just labor in general, and tenants, and your neighborhood, and your friends, and all the things that come out of these organizing. Sometimes it means protests. Sometimes it means just being at the ready. All of that. And the courts right now are one of the biggest things that are slowing the role of this administration. They will adjust. And of course, they're also getting law firms to provide them pro bono work. We have yet to see how that pro bono work is going to be deployed. And they're getting other institutions, frankly, to do their work for them.
Oh, yeah.
Caving before anything gets going, universities, etc. We don't really right now have much in terms of the Democratic Party, because it's our leadership in the Democratic Party seems to be incapable of understanding the moment. However, there is an electoral component to it, and it's these elections this week that are really important, because to the extent that incumbent Republican lawmakers have a sensitivity to losing their elections. On one hand, on one side of them is Elon Musk promising to deploy a lot of money in primaries against them if they in any way provide any friction to Trump's agenda. But on the other hand, we're starting to see out of that Pennsylvania elections last week that there could be a 15-point swing in the general election for a lot of these lawmakers. And as such, their calculation is different. It doesn't matter if I get through the primary, if I'm going to, absolutely get destroyed in the general. And if I can just get through, if I can get through the primary and Musk can't deploy, his resources all over the place, they're going to support me in the general because I'm a vote for them. So it changes marginally. A 15-point deficit going into an election would be a problem for a lot of these people. And so as such, you see Elon Musk and the Republican Party, their hair is on fire right now. Elise Stefanik is the first casualty of that she would be getting her, what, apparently?
Oh, well, apparently I thought that she might have had to put a down payment on a fancy apartment or a condo in New York, but apparently you get one of the swankiest apartments for free as UN ambassador. She thought she'd be dining with diplomats.
She was definitely picking out curtains for her apartment, and now it's all ruined for her because they're afraid of taking her out of the house because they're afraid of losing these elections.
Right.
And so Elon Musk has been deployed. He has taken his big screen TV and is in Wisconsin yesterday, I should say. I guess this is Sunday? Yes. He's in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and he's got about a crowd of 2,000 people, which is not it's not a small crowd. This is an election, and we're going to talk to Dave Weigel about it, and we talked to Ben Wickler about it, for a Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin. Weigel will tell us why it's so important, but Elon Musk clearly thinks it is because he's left the cot he has in the White House to go to Wisconsin. I mean, this is time away from destroying Social Security, so you know it's important.
That's his passion. Well, but this is also about his wealth as well, because Elon Musk Tesla has been suing Wisconsin because the state blocked an ownership or the opening of a dealership there. So this is all about his bottom line and trying to use his connection with the Trump administration to prop up Tesla as it's cratering in the markets, and as we're getting information about these Chinese electric vehicles who could start doing business with Canada and Mexico potentially because of these Trump tariffs, just completely outpacing him in terms of battery technology. Apparently, BYD in China just had a breakthrough, and their batteries might be able to charge in the same amount of time that it would take to fill up a gas tank,
wow,
which would be absolutely like
game-changing,
blowing Tesla out of the water. So that's why he has to use the Trump administration, because he's afraid of what happens if Tesla stock dips below a certain point. If he used that as collateral for his Twitter purchase, this means a whole house of cards could fall. The whole house of cards could fall.
And he's definitely concerned about this. He just had apparently Grok AI is a separate company. And he just had that purchase Twitter.
Right.
Now, we're still pulling that apart, and we're going to need some writing on
shady,
that.
Though.
But it is definitely a way of creating another layer of distance between that moment of reckoning. So he's got a lot of motivation. And again, he's also trying to show, like, if you go up against Trump in a primary, this is what I could do to you if you were running in a House district. And now remember, there's only 2,000 people in this this auditorium. It doesn't feel like they're all Musk supporters.
Some of them wanted the $1 million he was promising.
.gov website and the Doge handle on the X platform, there is a tremendous amount of waste and fraud in the federal government. Like, shocking, really. It's insane. Yeah. It's really wild. So, like, I mean, it was inevitable that at least a few Soros operatives would be in the audience. Give my regards to George. Say hi to George for me. USA, 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 USA. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, it was.
Now, this is like again another like a Black Mirror episode. He is complaining about a foreign-born billionaire who has been, I guess, presumably paying activists to influence elections. As he sits in a room where
full
he
of those
is
hogs.
literally offering $1 million to someone who has voted in this election already. And he's doing this on a daily basis.
Soros's net worth is around $7 billion. Elon's is over $340 billion. But
Those people are
Soros is a
explicitly
little-
there.
What'd you say?
Those people are explicitly there for the promise
Yes.
of money.
But also Soros is a bit Jewish, and if you recall, Elon Musk endorsed that anti-Semitic conspiracy theory back in the day when the ADL was condemning him, and now they're saying, oh, because he's a part of the Trump administration,
It's tense time.
That is fully Zionist. Maybe that Nazi salute wasn't so Nazi-y.
The ability of him to say to be sitting up there and say without irony, there's a billionaire who's trying to influence elections with paid operatives.
Yeah.
As he looks out on a sea of probably a decent amount of his own paid operatives, all of whom the people there are there for the money. It's
and clearly have no problem with billionaires spending to rig elections.
Or to rig
fascinating.
comedy crowds. I mean, George Soros must have also paid for all of those people in Dave Chappelle's crowd that booed him so badly that he had to be, institutionalized for hurt feelings? Isn't that what happened?
They had to have a wellness check by
maybe.
When did this happen?
After Chappelle, he did the thing where he came out on Chappelle after firing a bunch of Twitter people, and everybody in the crowd.
Oh, Musk did. Oh, okay,
and Musk
yeah,
is
back in the
like,
day, yes.
I'm Rick, bitch.
Here is Elon Musk talking about his vision on stage there. I guess he was taking questions. And he's asked, a teacher asked about, like, what are we going to do about student-teacher ratios, because we're getting all these cuts. Education department, incidentally, provides supplemental funding for primarily low-income urban and rural schools. And this teacher wants to know how to fix it. And Elon Musk has his solution.
He knows kids. Elon Musk, he understands maybe not child rearing and raising them, but he knows how to spawn children. I guess maybe he has some ideas on how to teach them.
With your investments in Khan Academy, with the advancement of AI educational tools where specifically you can get feedback and these students can get feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do we see 100 years from now? With all
100 years from now?
How about 50?
I hope we last 100 years. That'd be like jackpot. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we were like on Mars, so that would be really cool. So
pause it for a second. Why would you hope that we're going to be on Mars in 100 years? I mean, what is going on in his head that he says this? Does he thinks, does this mean he believes in climate change and that we shouldn't do anything about it?
No, he's afraid of the woke mind virus.
He's also just has a fundamentally anti-humanist worldview. And so basically, instead of improving all of humanity, let's flee to his colony that he'll commodify. And AI, who needs...
But I don't understand why you would say hopefully. It's just so bizarre.
He doesn't believe any of this. We'll watch the interview Hassan did with Vivian, his estranged daughter, but it's all marketing. He knows that stupid pigs believe this stuff when he says it, and it helps get him in the newspapers. He is not sincere about believing that we're going to get to Mars.
So that would be really cool. I do think AI can be incredibly helpful in teaching, because you can essentially set up each kid with like a personalized AI, and that AI can then answer questions for each kid, and that actually can be very profound in learning, because obviously if you've got a classroom of say 25, 30 kids, you can't like spend, it's literally impossible to spend time with every kid individually, or at least you can spend a little bit of time, but not, obviously it's a 1 to 20, 1 to 30 ratio. So, but what you can do is you can set them up with the AI, and then you can, if things get stuck or whatever, if you want to, you can essentially guide the orchestra that way, and I think it could be a very powerful learning tool. I personally enjoyed my English classes in high school, actually. Sometimes I wondered, why am I reading Charles Dickens? But there's some merit to reading Dickens and many of the. I actually think that we should have a great canon of English literature that kids do at least, some number of the significant works in the English language. So.
Okay. Now, there's a couple of things to point out here, and maybe we can work from the end back. First off, it's a very strange thing to say the English canon. I mean, books get published in English that are not written there in the entire time. I think what he's really saying is Western, and in that instance. And he begrudgingly admits that there is a value to being able to read. But what he doesn't understand about education, and I think, college students using AI, maybe older high school students, but the whole point of educating kids in elementary school and in middle school is not necessarily to give them rote knowledge, which is, you need some of that, but it is literally how to learn. And it's conceivable, I guess, in 100 years that we may have an AI that has the ability to assess the learning style of children and the specifics of any given child. But that's the whole point of a human being teacher, is that they have the sensitivity to understand this child learns best in this type of way. This child has these learning deficits in that type of way, and then address those. That's what a good teacher does. Not just, what year was the Civil War? And
right.
I don't think he has an idea.
Yeah, well, he has no idea how to raise children because he doesn't do it. But or what children need. They need human interaction and somebody that works through problems with them. Like, there haven't been enough studies done on this. But anecdotally, professors and teachers are saying that reading comprehension is way down. I think that was in part due to the pandemic, but it's in part due to not prioritizing our education.
It's also phones.
And phones.
I would say I mean, the competition for reading now for kids is just nuts. And of course, he didn't like Dickens.
Yeah.
Why couldn't it be A Tale of One City?
It was just the best of times.
Exactly.
It was the best of times.
In a moment, we're going to talk to Dave Weigel about why Elon Musk is out in Wisconsin and also about what's going on in Florida. First, a couple of words from our sponsors. Years ago, we had some Nutrafol in the office. They had sent it to us. They were asking us if we wanted to have a sponsor. At the time, I was like, Mom, I don't need to take Nutrafol. And I'd asked Michael, co-host at the time. He was like, no, why would I?
I don't need it.
Yeah, I don't need it. And then a couple of years ago, I was like, I'm starting to feel like I'm having a little thinning. I'm getting up there, and I didn't want to. I wanted to see more hair growth, and so I started taking Nutrafol. And then they came back and were like, "Okay, I'll advertise for you now." Nutrafol, #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand. It is trusted by over 1.5 million people. You will see thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. Thinning hair is different for men and women, so a one-size-fits-all approach to that hair growth doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas for men and women that are tailored to different life stages, such as postpartum or menopause, and lifestyle factors such as plant-based lifestyle. So you can get just what you need. It's physician-formulated, 100% drug-free ingredients. Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting key root causes of thinning, I should say. Stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism through whole body health. Both Emma and I know people who had serious issues with thinning in their hair, and Nutrafol helped them out big time.
Absolutely.
Both women, actually. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription. free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com. Enter the promo code TMR10. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com. Promo code TMR10, the number 10. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code TMR10. We'll put the link in the description in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Also sponsoring the program today, Zippix. This episode is brought to you by Zippix nicotine-infused toothpicks. Zippix bring you a totally satisfying, convenient, and great-tasting way to curb your nicotine cravings. Now you can get your nicotine fix anytime, anywhere, without having to rely on smoking or vaping. Zippix toothpicks give you an easier, better, and more discreet way to get your fix. They're available in 6 great long-lasting flavors. They have 2 options, 2 milligram and 3 milligram of nicotine. And they also have a caffeine and B12 infused toothpicks that give you a little energy boost. But if you want to sort of titrate off the nicotine, that's the way you do it. You can use Zippix toothpicks on, air flights or sporting events, literally everywhere that, smoking and vaping are banned. They are one of the most cost-effective nicotine products on the market. They are proudly made in the U.S. Just this weekend, a friend of mine was using Zippix because he's quit smoking.
Wow.
Yep. And I was like,
nice.
We advertise for them. It was pretty great to see that. Zippix have already helped hundreds of thousands of customers get their nicotine fix without having to inhale smoke or vape oils. So what are you waiting for? Give your lungs a break. Try Zippix nicotine-infused toothpicks. Ditch the cigarettes, ditch the vapes, get some nicotine-infused toothpicks at zippixtoothpicks.com today. Get 10% off your first order by using the code MAJORITYREPORT at checkout. Your lungs are going to be glad you did. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix nicotine toothpicks. Again, check the podcast and YouTube descriptions for the links and the codes. Quick break. Dave Weigel from Semaphore. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Joining us now, Dave Weigel. He covers politics for Semaphore. And one of my favorite Twitter and followers and follows and reporters, the Semaphore. I get it's emailed directly to me, your reporting, and I love it. Dave, always a pleasure to have you.
No, good to be back. Thanks, guys.
Good to see you.
So, were you out in Wisconsin covering this?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah, not the last week. I was there when Don Jr. was campaigning for the Republican nominee and when Tim Walz was campaigning for the Democratic nominee. So I was there a week ago, but you could see what the plan was.
They're not technically Republican and Democrat, right? I mean, it's a non-partisan.
I'm using.
Right.
You can explain it. Go ahead.
Well, it's a nonpartisan election, but it's quite clear. There's a liberal and a conservative running for the Supreme Court.
Right.
And this will determine it's a liberal that is stepping down. So this will determine the majority controlling. Right now, it's the majority is controlled by the liberals.
Yeah, this would be a conservative majority for 2 years. if conservatives win this. The Democrats, and you've probably talked to Ben Winkler about this, they had a long-term plan, which is not even done yet. The plan was to win the state Supreme Court, bring a case that would break the gerrymanders, which already happened. The state legislature is not as gerrymandered as it was. They're in a position to actually maybe win the state Senate next year, which was impossible under the old gerrymander. And the Republican plan is win this election, bring a new lawsuit. They won't say who will do it. Bring a new lawsuit, re-gerrymander the state, undo what Democrats did. To prevent that, Democrats are just trying to hold their majority.
And we should be clear, when Republicans had gerrymandered Wisconsin, a 57% electoral win in terms of votes in Wisconsin brought about something like 65% control for Republicans. That's how much it was gerrymandered. Now, to be fair in there, you had some races where people aren't running against each other, et cetera, and some places where the votes get rolled up. But that was the dynamic.
Yeah, it was impossible for Democrats to win the legislature. And because they couldn't win the legislature, impossible to get a 50-50 map. Right now, it's eight seats in a 50-50 swing state. Republicans have 2. Democrats can kind of compete for the third one. And the way this
you're
race
talking
started,
about Congress,
for Congress, sorry, for the House of Representatives. And so the original focus of Republican messaging on this race was there was a fundraiser for the Democratic back candidate Susan Crawford. Susan Crawford's the liberal majority candidate. Brad Schimmel, former Attorney General, would be the conservative candidate. The one fundraiser where people pointed out in the Reid Hoffman's group, hey, if we win this, we could remap the state. And Republicans started to say this whole election is an attempt by Democrats to rig the state so that they're going to get rid of the first district and the third district and make them Democratic and will never win again, et cetera, et cetera. If there was nonpartisan redistricting, you probably would have for let's say some safe R seats, some safe D seats, and some swing seats. That's how it started. But then as Elon got more involved in this race, he picked that argument up and he made it entirely about voting in this election will change the course of civilization. You need to do this so that activist judges around the country are punished because they're not letting Trump and me do what I want. It changed, but it started with this a little bit esoteric redistricting argument. It got a lot more politically intense.
Just give us a sense of the money disparity that's being spent in these races, because when Elon Musk decides to move in, it all of a sudden changes the physics of everything.
Right. Well, it is. If you look up all of the Democratic spending, all of the Republican spending, it is pretty even, but it would have been a Democratic advantage, but for Elon Musk. He's going to end up having spent at least $23 million, and that's between donating to the state party, which he did pretty recently, having America PAC spend money in the state, and having Building America's Future PAC buy ads in the state. And the ads have mostly those three things have different tasks, but they basically have ended what was the Democratic fundraising advantage, which was a combination of big donors giving to the state party. That's an old Scott Walker law that's still in the books. You can give unlimited money to the state party, and Democrats having good small dollar fundraising. So Susan Crawford, a judge from Dane County, has lapped Republicans in personal fundraising for her campaign, small donors. If you watch the debate, you can hear the Republican-backed candidate say that this is bad. This is out-of-staters trying to buy the election, and you can hear Crawford hit back. Yes, but Elon Musk. This is a guy out of state who's trying to bury the support from Wisconsinites and people from around the country. The small dollar donors is trying to bury them with literally giant checks. That's what the race has been about. The conversation about the race in Wisconsin for the last 72 hours is, wait a second, who is actually trying to buy this? Is it small donors? Is it J.B. Pritzker because he gave $1 million to the state party? Or is it Elon Musk outspending everybody on his own?
Well, also, I was shocked to hear you say that final total, because this morning before you came on, I was reading your article in Semaphore about it, that it was $11 million when I guess you wrote this up maybe 10, 11 days ago, and now it's more than doubled. Like, what? Can you talk about that broader context, and also Elon Musk's case that could be delineated by the Wisconsin Supreme Court about his dealerships for Tesla, which I think is a part of his motivation, right?
It's part of his motivation. So his rhetoric at his own events and on X, etc., is we need to do this to stop illegal voting. We need to do this to save Doge. We need to do this to stop illegal immigration. Everything, every Republican issue. But yeah, so Tesla wants to sell cars without dealerships. It sued in Wisconsin before this race started. It was not winning that case. That was one of the first things Democrats grabbed onto. Is it seems bad that a guy who wants a particular thing that might come before the Wisconsin Supreme Court is spending all this money in our state. Because whatever you think of George Soros donating to the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, he's not saying, and also you're going to kick back to me a bunch of things I want, right? You're gonna hand over a lot of state investments to my hedge fund. No, it's that. It's kind of understood that the big donors on the Democratic side were just liberals who said, please do some liberal things if you win, but nothing for me personally. And yes, Musk has a personal interest in the state. Schimmel has said that he would rule it in a nonpartisan fashion on anything Elon does, but he's also commented on Elon and said he's doing the right thing. He's very pro-Doge. It's very muddled, and this is not news to anybody listening to this, but the law exists in different ways. You have no money, and if you have $400 billion, Musk operates with impunity because he can have lawyers drag everything out. He can he has the confidence that if there's a federal crime that Donald Trump is going to pardon people. He has the confidence that he can pressure judges into recusing. If somebody sues, if he wants to sue somebody, he sues them in Texas where he has a favorable judge. So Musk has been operating in this like he operates everywhere. I mean, the same way that Musk is confident that no one's going to really nail SpaceX for polluting some space junk near Brownsville, Texas. But in this race, the Republican messaging that he's emphasized is it's not even about him. It's, yes, I'm great. I'm Elon Musk. You all support me. Doge is doing the right thing. It's if you want the Trump agenda to succeed. We know you don't normally care about a court race, and whatever you think of me, come out and vote for Donald Trump. So America PAC, his PAC, it's stuff it's sending to the doors is all about Trump. Vote for Brad Schimmel to support Donald Trump. He had Elon had Sean Duffy at his rally in Green Bay last night as the transportation secretary, saying this election is a way to show your support for Doge and for Donald Trump. That's what they're doing. So Elon gets some benefits if this goes the right way. But he's also happily reframing everything as pro-Trump, because what do MAGA voters care more about? Do they care more about Teslas being sold in Wisconsin, or do they care more about supporting their beloved president?
Right.
All right. So, and I want to sort of like pivot to Florida, these races, but from a political matter, like what is for him to get this involved? I don't know that it's just Tesla. I'm sure that's, things can be a twofer. And that Doge stuff, but just talk to us about how the politics influence, and that also brings us to Florida. And has Musk invested in Florida? It doesn't feel like he has that much. And if not, why? Because it has a similar dynamic, it seems to me. I mean, Wisconsin could be a swing of like three congressional seats by, in 2 years. But the results of these things, even if the Democrats lose in Florida, which, odds are that they will.
They think they'll lose. Yeah.
But it still makes a difference where the points land, right? Because this is going to influence lawmakers, period.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, one question coming out of this race is, one, can you convince MAGA voters to show up for somebody who's not Donald Trump? Because Democrats have had pretty good special elections, flipped a couple seats already this year in Iowa and Pennsylvania because MAGA voters are not coming out. They had this in Wisconsin last year. Tammy Baldwin did not get as many votes as Kamala Harris. It's just that a bunch of people voted for Donald Trump and then didn't care about the rest of the Republican Party. That was a benefit even when Trump was on the ballot. So how do you get people to say, my vote is about Donald Trump, I'm going to come out? If you can turn the MAGA voter of a presidential year into a regular Republican voter, then obviously you're going to benefit in a lot of ways. That has not been happening in these places. That was not happening in early voting in Florida. So the reason Republicans started to get worried is because they had a candidate, Randy Fine, who is personally, if you talk to Republicans in Tallahassee, talk to DeSantis, personally obnoxious, a very pugnacious Republican that a lot of people in the party don't like and didn't want to support and didn't give money to, barely running a campaign, not doing much of an early vote, Democrats outrunning him. And their whole argument has been support Donald Trump, show up on election day. That's the thing. What kind of politics are possible if you just get Trump voters to show up in non-Trump elections? Because I wrote in one of my stories about this that in 2019, Republicans won a Supreme Court race in Wisconsin partly by sending a bunch of mail to voters and saying, hey, if you're a Republican voter, aren't you still angry about the Brett Kavanaugh hearings? To get revenge for Brett Kavanaugh and to beat liberal judges like the ones Brett Kavanaugh is not, vote for our candidate. And it was pretty effective. But it's been competing against Democrats in Wisconsin under Ben Wickler being very, very well organized, beating all their metrics, turning out for everything. And Wickler is very blunt, that our voters are furious and on tilt all the time, and their voters are pretty happy that Trump is owning the libs. So we don't think they're going to turn out the same way.
Let's play this Josh Weil article, because I have also I should say. I also have a theory about, like, if Musk showing up actually hurts the cause more than helps. But I want to ask you about that. But first, this is from Florida's 6th district. This is around the Daytona Beach area. This is the race that they think they can win. There's another one, 1st district, and that was Gates's old seat. This is Michael Waltz's old seat. And the irony is, he may be out of the administration before anybody actually takes this.
We'll see.
Is sworn in.
Yeah.
In Congress because of his inability to his fat thumbs, I guess, when it comes to his Signal chats. But let's play this.
I'm Josh Weil, and I approve this message.
Randy Fine, a violent, corrupt politician, so radical and dangerous, he supports the effort to cut $880 billion for Medicaid, devastating disabled children and those in nursing homes. Fine is so unhinged and anti-American, he supports the idea that Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. He wants to cut $700 billion, stealing from your retirement. Randy Fine, unhinged, un-American.
I'm Josh.
Oh, Josh Weil. So he's the Democrat. My favorite part of this is the Chinese communist flag that's interspersed with no explanation. Yeah, but they're trying to get people that are in that area, right? Retirees.
This is what I find fascinating about this, because the mayor who won in that special election in Pennsylvania, he ran against Doge and Elon Musk and didn't mention Donald Trump's name. And that whole ad, if you look at that ad, all of those things tie back either to the Republican House or Elon Musk. And because, the sort of vague notion that Musk is working for China in this instance. And I'm curious as to your take on this, because in running against Musk and the Republicans, everybody knows who empowered Musk and the Republicans on the Democratic side, but you're not sort of like ringing that, Pavlov's dog, like Trump's in this race type of thing for his voters. Has anybody articulated that type of strategy? Because I'm seeing that, and it makes total sense to me.
No, that's very smart, and that's also the Democratic message in Wisconsin is Musk is trying to buy this. They don't mention the Trump thing. They think that the way Republicans are getting Trump and Musk in the race is not going to help the party. They think it excites their voters. But yes, in both cases, they want to emphasize Musk because Musk is less popular. Musk doesn't have that cult of personality. There are some young men who think Elon Musk is amazing and don't love Trump as much, but it's pretty marginal. So you're right. That is how they focus this, is that it's about these guys trying to rip you off. And they're very comfortable. Every Democrat's very comfortable saying these guys are trying to rip off your benefits to send the money back to the richest people in the world. The very populist message. Maybe it doesn't sound super convincing from some Democrats. Maybe it'd be more convincing, as Bernie says, if they turn down all billionaire money. But that's the message everywhere. And in that Florida race, what is it now? It's March 31st. So I'm thinking 2-3 weeks ago, I was talking to Democrats who were annoyed that Josh Weigel was raising all this money because they said, yeah, the best we can do here is the margin shrinks a bit. We really wish this money was going to other places. We wish this was going to people who could win special elections like this Lancaster County race, which they won, the state Senate race last week. They're a different two now because Fine ran such a bad campaign that they don't think they can win this, but they think it was the verge of being a low single digit 5-point race that make Republicans scared. And they were really happy that at least Stefanik pulled out. But you're right. The messaging was not send a message against Donald Trump. I remember back in 2018, Andrew Gillum ran for governor of Florida, and during the primary, when it was just Democrats paying attention, in his ad, he said he supported impeaching Trump. They really thought bringing him into this race, he's so unpopular, that's a way to get over it. They don't think that anymore. It is maybe Trump's approval rating goes down over the next 2 years, but they think it's attack the weaker people around him. That's the way you do it.
Well, I gotta also think that when you're talking about low turnout, which means, high information and,
engaged voters.
highly engaged and high propensity to vote voters, they all know, like Elon, they don't think Elon Musk just showed up on his own. When you say Musk, they hear Trump. It's just that when you say Musk to less engaged Republican voters, they don't necessarily hear Trump.
Well, but if you say Trump, you have the risk of
that's what I'm saying. Engaging those
low
people.
income voters,
right? The
low propensity. Sorry,
yeah.
But I do find it's like the ad, the way that Wheel is framing them as extreme and focusing on Medicaid and Social Security feels unique as well. I mean, I guess it's also specific to Florida, given the level of retirees there. But if they're talking about single-digit margins here between the two, Waltz won this district in November by 33 points.
Yes, so this should be a safe seat. It's Daytona Beach, and then there are retirees in the district. That is the messaging that has worked. But all special elections, every election until 2028, is going to have a smaller pool of voters than a presidential. Every special election, not to oversimplify it, but a little bit to oversimplify it, is about getting as many of your presidential voters out as possible. The new people joining, the new voters, turning 18, etc., coming in, that is a smaller part of it. And so even in the Space Coast in Florida, if you got, let's say, 70% of the 2024 Democratic vote out and 40% of the Republican vote, that's how you win it. But you're not assuming you're converting more people. So this is going to Democrats and saying that. It's just that point Sam was making, that this is not saying cast a vote against Trump. It is saying here is something that I don't want to make up a poll number in this district, but given that Republicans have given up saying that we're going to cut Social Security, let's say that message is like an 80% message, even in a Republican district. Yeah, that's how you go for it. But it's a way to also tell your Democratic voters, this is an election coming up, please turn out. It's not quite fair. And Trump has posted about it. Trump said vote in this race, but
it just froze.
We lost Dave.
In Junior, I essentially changed the circumstance. When I was there with John Jr., Republicans wanted Trump to rally and to show up and to have something for Brad Schimmel, and that obviously never happened. He does get antsy if he thinks he might put skin in the game and be embarrassed. And Republicans had that's how they had their built the Wisconsin campaign, is we don't want to tell him get involved here because he might decide, Republicans always lose those Wisconsin off-year races. I'm going to look stupid if I do this. They're both being genteel about how they mentioned Trump, except in Wisconsin, this mail that's going to Republicans. Now, the TV ads you'll see say this liberal judge is horrible and she's going to let criminals out of jail, et cetera, et cetera. The mail that Republicans are getting is saying support Donald Trump. The message that you do for somebody who's just going to turn on the Brewers game is a little bit different than the message you do to somebody who's in your books saying they voted for Trump in 2024.
You can tell directly Republican voters, in other words, vote for Trump in this race. But if you start, they're afraid of wielding Trump as well, because that might motivate more people to come out to vote against Trump. I mean, this is what. All right. Just lastly, what are the implications? What are the implications for legislation and candidates, Republicans, in the House in particular, when a seat that was won by Waltz at 33 points comes in as, let's say, a 9-point race that the Democrat loses by 9 points? I mean, never mind wins, but like, what is that signal to them? How does that change their calculation going into 2026?
Well, you don't have Republicans who are that nervous about winning right now anywhere. They'll change this. The official Republican position is that they're trying to expand this map. Mike Johnson has said this. They see seats that Trump lost by less than 5 points as targets, and this is putting some ice water on that. That you're not going to hear Republicans say this is the year we're going to take back like Mikey Sherrill's seat in New Jersey or something, or this is the year we're going to beat Eugene Vindman. They're starting to get a little more realistic about where they can compete. Who is actually scared enough to change their votes because of this? Not that many Republicans compared to 8 years ago. There really almost nobody in a. I think it's 3 people who are in seats, Republicans who are in seats that Harris won. They're already pretty open and speaking out against the party in a bad news cycle, like Brian Fitzpatrick in Pennsylvania and Don Bacon in Nebraska. These have been very hard for Democrats to beat because they run ahead of the party. And they're already trying to find votes they can break from the party on. They just keep voting with them on these spending bills because the premise of every spending bill this year, and this is pretty new, is that whatever you spend, Doge is not going to, don't worry about it. Doge is illegally going to, well, they don't say illegally, but Doge is, until a court stops us, Doge is going to cut this. So you've got guys in competitive seats being much more confident they were 8 years ago in voting for Trump. But what happens if
that's a massive failure of Chuck Schumer's, incidentally, because that's going on and they're getting their cake and eating it too. And Chuck Schumer just gave them a rubber stamp to do that. But putting that aside, the only
argument Schumer can make is that, but if we put in a shutdown, then they'd be doing the same thing. Russ would be saying, "Great."
Yes, except for they wouldn't be able to. They'd either have to have their cake or they'd have to eat it. They wouldn't get both. That's the point.
Yeah, he sucked that down. Everyone's angry about how it went. But the next voting will happen on actual spending programs, outlays. Which tax cuts are we going to extend? Is there a Republican who says, I'm politically kind of nervous about supporting this extension of tax cuts if it doesn't include, let's say, free IVF, which Trump ran on, or no tax on tips, which he ran on? If it does involve cutting Medicaid payments, am I worried about that? Am I worried if they talk about block granting Medicaid? You do have a couple people who might be nervous enough to not support that. And then what happens? Then you have to go back to the House drawing board and go to Democrats and say, can you fund this thing that doesn't go all the way? They have no Democrats playing ball with them. They kind of have Jared Golden in Maine in the House. And when there is when the shutdown's on the table, they have John Fetterman, they have some senators. But which Republicans are confident that they could go to voters and defend any kind of entitlement cut? Not that many are worried about this, but let's say 3 of them are, 4 of them are. That's enough.
That's all you need. I mean, so
that would be enough in this climate. And so
certainly
they're going to replace these. They're going to actually have a little more wiggle room after these special elections, because if Randy Fine wins, then their majority goes up and they could lose 3 votes and pass something. But that means 4 people. If Mike Lawler decides something's tough for him because he wants to run for governor of New York and he can't defend something that they're doing, that becomes a problem. Yeah, that's where they're trying to get back to. It's just that's normal politics, and normal politics do not exist under Doge and impoundment, because the president can say, I'm signing this bill, but it's not real. If a Republican calls me and tells me not to spend this money, I won't spend it.
Dave Weigel, Really appreciate your laying this out for us. The stakes are really big for these elections, much more so than I think people would have anticipated, 6 months ago, certainly.
I think Elon's saying that like the judgment of history or something depends on Wisconsin.
The future of Western civilization.
We may not make it to Mars after all,
yeah.
if this race in Wisconsin. But Dave Weigel, really appreciate it. We'll put a link to your semaphore stuff. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, folks. I'm going to take a quick break, head into the fun half. I've got to skedaddle. I got an important appointment, but you will be, the ship will be landed by Emma. Just don't freak out when I come back and all of a sudden I'm gone.
Sam may be back later in the show. We shall see.
This is no relationship to the names I was called on Friday.
He's definitely not interviewing my replacement.
People made Matt apparently, and I had sort of forgotten about this, went hard on the stop stuttering. Whatever, we're not going to get into that right now.
It's like legalize comedy. The left wanted to make comedy illegal,
Yeah, no.
Folks, your support is what makes this show possible. You can become a member, join the MajorityReport.com. When you do, you not only get the free half free of commercials, but you also allow the show to survive and thrive. Also, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee and hot chocolate. They're in Madison, Wisconsin. I know they're working on this election. And they have great coffee. You can get the Majority Report blend and others. 10% off. Use the coupon code MAJORITY. Matt, Left Reckoning.
Yeah, tomorrow, Chip Gibbons of Defending Rights and Dissent on live at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We want to get to 50,000 subscribers.
See you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks. 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just wanna degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it to my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Danner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. You see white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males...
Psych. Fuck them.
Snowflake says what? Snowflake says what?
A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. All lives matter.
Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black African. And the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
When you see Donald Trump out there, doesn't a little part of you think that America deserves to be taken over by jihadists? Keeping it 100. Can't knock the hustle. Come on! Fuck them. Things I do for the bigger game plan. By the way, it's my birthday! Happy birthday to me, Jew boy!
I have a thought experiment for you.
And the alpha males are back. Africans are black. Alpha males are black. Africans are back, back.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Someone needs to pay the price for blasphemy around here.
I am a total pussy.
We are back, folks. It is the fun half of the Majority Report. I'll be piloting solo for a little bit until Sam comes back towards the end of the show. Most of the show. I mean, I don't even know why he's bothering to come back.
Very strange decision, but you just get used to not questioning those things.
He has an appointment close by, but just, yeah, maybe go home after. I don't know.
Go have a coffee.
That's what I would do. But I guess that's why I'm me. Brizzle, can we talk about Stephen Miller equals the banality of evil? Well, I don't know how banal he is, honestly. He's pretty explicit.
The nastiness,
yes.
The nasty freakishness of evil.
Dago Lefty, why does Musk sound like Anna Sorokin? Both, very indistinguishable accents, I think. Although, I mean, I guess Elon's is South African, but he's kind of at supervillain level, I would say. Jester from Jersey, what'd you say?
I was going to say something not so nice about South African